Next presentation is about data standard checker. For this, I invite Satheeq Hassan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Satheeq. I'm here to present about database standard checking. So first of all, I would like to ask, how many of you are aware of code review process and how many of you are involved in a code review? Yes. And this project is also similar to a code review process. Today, I will give you a brief introduction about my project and the internal tools, and I'll go back to the industrial background and I will show the problems and a solution. When it comes to code review, thousands of millions of codes each day go to production, and every line of code is reviewed by a specialist to make sure the code quality is correct, and to make sure there is no any bugs in the code. This is the most effective way to enforce the code is correctly written. And the wiki says typically the code review rate writes 150 lines of code per hour. Let's keep it like this. When it comes to the database standard checker, we are going to talk about code standards and violations. What is a code standard is to avoid the inconsistency of the coding and the application level. When we are developing the script, a constant guideline is followed by each organization. When it comes to a large software development process, they strictly follow standards to develop their script. For an example, if you take an object name, how they define the standard is, maybe the object name can only have underscore rather than other special characters or any spaces. So if you take these two examples, the first one with the underscore is acceptable where the other one is not. So here comes code standard checking. The review boards who are involved in code review, they make sure these standards are followed correctly while scripting. That is what code standard checking. Let's see something about the background and industry. This project is targeted to Peradeniya Private Limited, which is known as ESCaPe13. And during my industrial training, I was there and observing and working in the side of code review process. As every company following their own code standards, PSN also following code standards strictly, their own code standard. And if you see a real manual code review process, developers at the code review and the review board add comments each time. So PSN automated their database standard checking using their own DB automation tool, and they use a couple of tools to complete this process. One is a code collaborator, which is a code review tool, and the other one is Perforce, which is known as the master repository of file versions. So I will show you how the code standard checking automatically happens in Peradeniya shortly. So the developer creates a review in code collaborator, and then the code collaborator pulls files from Perforce, and the DB automation tool checks whether there are any database SQL files present, and then it triggers the database automation tool to evaluate these standards and put the comments into the code collaborator UI, so that the developers come back and check the code collaborator review the comments, and they take the comments and go back to their development IDE and modify the code according to the comments. This is a typical code review process happens nowadays. If you take some more examples about code review process and code standard checking, there are many tools available And there are many automated tools to check the syntax and logical errors as well. If you take these kind of tools, the important fact is whether these tools are customizable according to the company standards. Because not every companies are following the general purpose, general standards. When it comes to big production of a company, they have their own standard for that development process. So the important fact is whether these tools can be customizable according to their company standards. The other fact is, even as I showed already about the DB automation tool that I was working in Pearson platform, there's a gap between the development workflow and the code review process. They are using a third party or an external tool to see the comments, and they have to go back to their development environment to modify the change. So there is the gap. And also there are some internal applications such as Just Code that also working as internal ID, and those not everything is supports the company customizable standards. So these are the problems I identified in manual code review. Every day, the developers had to review, and they work on a new task. Usually, a review takes a week of time, 1 week of time to complete the review. Because the reviewers are not free with they are not assigned for the code reviews, they are assigned for many tasks. So the developers have to review, and they don't wait, and they are working on other tasks. When it comes to release, they have to gather all the scripts, and they have to make all the documentation whether everything is properly worked, so that they go and check whether there are any comments and violations to the code from the code collaborator or even code to improve. At that time, they get the comments and they come to modify the code. At the end of the time, the critical junction where they are going to place the code. So at that point, the developers are out of track where they develop the task, what are the requirements and why they develop it. But they totally forgot about that, and they have to go back and treat every task and requirement, and they have to modify the code. The other thing is the cost of a manual code review. It says normally 30 minutes of time each day a developer or code reviewer spends on code review. So we can calculate how much a company have to spend for code review, because the code review process is much important in the development process. And during my industrial training, I could observe there are many mistakes coming again and again in the same code. This happens. These are the problems I found in automated code review tools. For an example, the Pearson automation tool is something like an external tool. It's where it's out of the workflow where we are developing with the development IDs or development tools. And the important thing is, even though the comments are generated automatically, the developers have to see the comments in a different application, and they have to come back to the IDE to change, modify the code. I saw the difference with the demo. And as I mentioned, the existing automation tools are general purpose. So that I came up with this idea, where the companies have their own customized standards and their tool to evaluate the standards. And to avoid the workflow of the current process, integrating the tools with the IDs or the development environment. This is the approach. So let's see how it's going to work. Here I have created a plugin for SQL Server Management Studio to show an example. So, and a different two type of things work here. One is the plugin, other one is the web service. So the plugin works with the development ID, and the web service involved with the violation standard checkings and sending the comments to the plugin. Let's see with the demo. This is a sample script I have developed for test case. So only about the Windows quite small. So once the developer finishes development work, he just needed to go to the third-party application to generate the comments and come back. He just go to a button and click on it, and the comments are displayed in the output window At the same time, they are developing the script. It is available at the same ID, so that the developer can see the comments. Let's say the line number 131 has the table reference missing BBA. So he can go to line number 131, he can modify the code. Hope you can see the difference between the external tools and internal tools with IDs. Let's come back to our program. How it happens in web service? This web service consists of two parts. One is a SQL parser, the other one is a custom service component. What the SQL parser does is, for example, if you take a script, or creating tables is normal script. When the script passes through the web service, the SQL parser creates the abstract tree of this script. Something like this. And the custom service component, which is developed on top of this SQL parser, walks through each node and identify the values. Let's say if we have to evaluate the table name, it walks through and find the table name and compare with the predefined existing rule. If it is okay, just leave it. If it is not okay, if it is violating any rule, just put a comment saying that. The next thing, whether it is customizable according to the platforms and different things or according to company standards. Yes, we can customize it. We can use the same plugin which is generated, which is implemented as I said, like I created as SQL Server Management Studio plugin. And we can use the web service for different platforms, different company standards. So the web service consists of two parts. We can use, the only thing is to change the custom service components which evaluates the standard. So we have to create the custom service component externally according to the company standard and put them on top of it. That's all. So the same plan can be used by everyone, and according to the standard the team or the company follows, we can customize the websites. After this, I was running with the data collection. The web service, I created the web service as storing all the comments that are generated by the custom service components. And I stored them as XML data, standard data. And then I collected them. And I found that there are comments repeatedly coming again and again. The same developer, using the same developer, getting the same comment in the same script again and again, because we are human. We are busy with other tasks as well. We just develop, I took maybe, there's a problem, come back, change. That's what happens. So by observing this data, I come up with another idea to create an analyzing tool which can find the frequent mistakes that are happening in the development process by observing the data. So this tool can, for now this tool is capable of finding the most frequent comment from the data. After this, if we know what is the most frequent comment, what we can do is, we can simply create the code snippets and distribute among the developers. If you want, I can show you another example. So, how a code snippet works is, when we are developing, we just go, rather than using any documentation or something, if you want to create a table, just go and click on snippet. So, according to the standard, the specialist can develop the snippets and distribute among the developers, so that the mistakes, the time of creating the mistakes and time for correcting the mistakes can be eliminated. So this tool I have released to Pearson Lanka development environment and have done a good test run and got their good feedback as well. And here I have succeeded this approach with the SQL Server Management Studio plugin and the Visual Studio plugin, and I'm using an external web service which is deployed in IIS Windows Server. What can we do in the future? Here it is only developed for .NET, SQL, and with the Visual Studio and SQL Server Management Studio. We can implement many instead of this tool for different platforms, according to different companies, different languages, different tools, different IDs. And I'm in a conjunction of defining the rules in the customer service components. Actually, I'm hard coding it. I take the tool database and I'm hard coding it. So we have to find a better technology, better way implementing these tools automatically. And most important thing is using the manual code review. In the manual code reviewers add comments. So we can take the free text comments from the reviewing tools. We can collect them and we can analyze. By analyzing these comments, we can identify what are the frequent mistakes, what are the frequent comments that are added by the reviewers, and we can automate that evaluation as well. By observing the comments, by analyzing the comments, we can create a new rule and we can add to the system. This also will eliminate the time for a code review. Any question?
When you talk about customization for different customers, so is this customization done by the customer or actually the developer has to come in?
For the moment, the defining rules are customized hardcoded. That's why I put an entry saying that in future we have to find a new technique to automate this rule creation part. By the way, most
My thing is that if I'm running a company and I want a certain set of rules to be implemented,
Yes.
can I do it myself that tell that tool I want to say?
Yes, here I have a document how to create the rules. So it's not a big task because if you think a development process, it's like I have a template to create a rule, so that we have to find the node from the abstract tree and we have to evaluate the value. That's all.
But does that require any programming experience or?
For now, it's yes. In future, we have to develop or we have to find a technique, a proper way to define rules by some technique.
That would limit. I cannot take the tool out of box and just use it. I have to come to the developer and say that these are the better tools I want to develop. So it's not really customizable then, right?
Yes, but I'm sure this makes a difference. And if we want it more efficient, we can develop it, and we are going to define. We are going to implement rules only once. After that, it is automated. So if it is not, each and every time the reviewers have to add the same comment again and again. So for now, it is the source we have in mind. If you want it in more efficient way, we can develop it.
My suggestion is that you can probably implement different rules and then allow the customer to be able to select which rules you want to run and with some small modifications that can be done.
That's the best way.
Or come up with 100 rules and customer can say I want to only run these 10 rules and that's it customization. Right? So that would be easy for you to get started.
Maybe it's XML file
Actually, I'm using a simple XML file data engine to configure the row, to put the comments and row. And if you have to create a new rule standard checking, a new class has to be created and inherit. That's all. Sorry. You mean you're asking about the parser? Yes, it's basically I wrote it. The parser and the custom service component is not only my tool. I'm using PSN, the automation tool, and on top of that I'm developing the web service. And basically it's, we create the grammar and working for it. That's all. No, not the technical and the. We are not reading the code. We are just getting the elements and comparing with the row. That's all. there are some other research going on finding these, identifying the tables and joins in the database query. So I have an experience on working at that as well. In future, I'll try to integrate that as well. Thanks.
So this comes handy when I'm doing the analysis.
Sorry,
This comes handy when I'm doing the analysis. Is it possible from a previous one?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
So is there any possibility from a previous to make my work for my wants to see how?
This tool helps the developers to prevent their mistakes shown to others. Basically, the most important point is this, because when I'm working in the industry, I found that one developer acts a review and the reviewers can identify, oh, this guy is having this problem always. This guy is doing mistakes every day. So this tool will eliminate that problem, and by analyzing the comments according to users, the project managers also can identify who is in which part he is in weak or weak, and that they can help to the developer as well. But I'm sure if you are using the tool twice for a sprint, and you are sure what are the mistakes you are doing, and you'll try to improve that. Is that okay? That's why they are stored in the comments and in the data. So at each time the script comes to the web service, the web service put an entry saying that this file by this user, these are the comments generated.
So we can read it through the.
Sorry?
So at the moment this is the ID.
Yes.
So we have to go to that person and read.
That's why that's what analyzing tool is separately generated, and if you want project manager or someone have to see according to the users, we can add this facility with the analyzing tool, so that they can get the comments, what are the comments generated for each developer by developer. It simply can be definitely.
So the custom web service components will be the sort of customized part that will have the quality standards for each different topic.
Yes.
So is that where you will be storing the rules as well?
Yes.
In what format are the rules stored?
The rules are created. Rules names are created in a database, XML, and the evaluation part is hard-coded, implemented.
Okay.
So hope we are running sort of time with lunchtime. So anything else? So finally, I would like to thank my supervisor, Suzanne Maraka, who helped me in many ways, and the Department of Computer Engineering, and especially PSL Lanka Private Limited, who they provide me many resources and documentation to finish this research successfully. Thanks everyone.